hate to do this. Hate to transform the. Okay, dude, dope. I'll send it to you. Hate to transform the mood, but I somebody has said close to me in some form or yes I do some form or fashion. Jeff Bezos is a good person. You could be the next Jeff Bezos. That's why capitalism is great. Take a ride with me for a second while we look at just the minute micromanagement of Amazon and how having billions of dollars might not be the greatest thing in the world when you literally do not care about those who are so far below you, you would never mingle with them in common society. When the coronavirus shut down New York last spring, many residents came to rely on a colossal building they had never heard of, JFK 8, Amazon's only fulfillment center in America's largest city. What happened inside shows how Jeff Bezos created the workplace of the future and pulled off the impossible during the pandemic, but also reveals what's standing in the way of his promise to do better by his employees. The manager, the objector, the missing worker, the data leader. The Amazon that customers don't see. Last September, Ann Castillo saw an email from Amazon that made no sense. Her husband had worked for the company for 5 years, most recently at the supersized warehouse on Staten Island that served as the retailer's critical pipeline in New York City. Now it wanted him back on the night shift. We notified your manager in HR about your return to work on October 1st, 2020. Ms. Castillo was incredulous. While working mandatory overtime in the spring, her 42-year-old husband, Alberto, had been among the first wave of employees at the site to test positive for the coronavirus. Ravaged by fevers and infections, he suffered extensive brain damage. On test of responsiveness, Ms. Castillo said his score was almost nothing. For months, polite, get-it-done physical therapist had been alerting the company that her husband, who had been proud to work for the retail giant, was severely ill. The responses were disjointed and confusing. Emails and calls to Amazon's automated systems often dead-ended. The company's benefits were generous, but she had been left panicking as disability payments mysteriously halted. She managed to speak to several human resource workers, one of whom reinstated the payments, but after that, the dialogue was mostly reverted to phone trees, auto replies, and voicemail messages on her husband's phone asking if he was coming back. The return to work summons deepened her suspicion that Amazon didn't fully register her situation. Haven't they kept track of what happened to him? Are your workers disposable? Can you just replace them? Basically, JFK 8 swallowed up every gig worker they could because everybody was literally going for it. Hotel workers, actors, bartenders, and dancers. Driven by a new sense of mission to serve customers afraid to shop in person, JFK 8 helped Amazon smash shipping records, reach stratospheric sales, and book the equivalent of the previous 3 years' profits rolled into one. We talked about that earlier. That success, speed, and agility were possible because Amazon and its founder, Jeff Bezos, had pioneered new ways of mass managing people through technology, relying on a maze of systems that minimize human contact to grow unconstrained. In contrast to its precise, sophisticated processing of packages, Amazon's model for managing people, heavily reliant on metrics, apps, and chatbots, was uneven and strained even before the coronavirus arrived, with employees often having to act as their own caseworkers, interviews, and records show. Amid the pandemic, Amazon's system burned through workers, resulting in inadvertent firings, stalled benefits, and impeded communication, casting a shadow over the business success story for the ages. Amazon took steps unprecedented at the company to offer leniency, but then at times were contradicted or ended them. Workers like Mr. Castillo at JFK 8 were told to take as much unpaid time off as they needed, and then hit with mandatory overtime. When Amazon offered employees flexible personal leaves, the system handling them jammed, issuing a blizzard of job abandonment notices to workers and sending staff scrambling to save them, according to Human. After absences initially soared and disrupted shifting, Amazon left employees mostly in the dark about the toll of the virus. The company did not tell workers at JFK 8 or other warehouses the number of cases, causing them to worry whether notifications about individuals testing positive meant 2 or 22. While Amazon said publicly that it was disclosing confirmed cases to health officials, New York City records show no reported cases until November. The company and city officials dispute what happened. Amazon continued to track every minute of most warehouse workers' shifts, from how fast they pack merchandise to how long they pause, the kind of monitoring that spurred a failed unionization drive led by frustrated black employees at an Alabama warehouse this spring. We covered that as well. If productivity flagged, Amazon's computer assumed the worker was to blame. Early in the pandemic, the online retailer paused its firing of employees for low output, but that change was not announced clearly at JFK 8, so some workers still feel that moving too slowly would cost them their livelihoods. It's important that area managers understand that associates are more than just numbers. We are human beings. We're not tools used to make their daily, weekly goals and rates. The company touted breathtaking job creation numbers. It scooped up 350,000 new workers, more than the population of St. Louis. Many recruits hired through a computer screening with little conversation and vetting lasted just days or weeks. I've had a bunch of my friends that we've talked about on the stream that have done that. This April, Mr. Bezos said he was proud of the company's work culture, the achievable productivity goals, the pay, and the benefits. In interviews, the head of human resources for warehouses and the general manager of JFK 8 said the company prioritized employee welfare, noted that it expanded its HR staff, and cited internal surveys showing high worker satisfaction. Some managers from JFK 8 and beyond described building deep relationships with their teams. But several former executives who helped design Amazon systems and still call themselves admirers of the company said the high turnover, pressure over productivity, and consequences of scaling up have become too critical to ignore. The company has not ambitiously addressed these issues, said Paul Strobe, who until recently led corporate teams devoted to understanding warehouse workers. Amazon can solve pretty much any problem it puts its mind behind. I felt like it was a different company, blah, blah, blah. Even Bezos, in his final lap as chief executive of the company, creators now making startling concessions about the system he invented. He said the union effort showed that we need a better vision for how we create value for employees, a vision for their success. Amazon is also on pace to become the nation's largest private employer within a year or two as it continues expanding. About 1 million workers now rely on the company's wages and benefits. Many describe the job as rewarding. Lights on, food, clothes, everything, blah, blah. I'm willing to work my socks off for just an hourly income. Some admire anyway. But Mr. Dan Cavagnaro, who started at JFK when it opened in 2018 and worked with Mr. Castillo, but Mr. Cavagnaro was mistakenly fired in July while trying to return from leave and could not reach anyone to help. Please note the following he wrote in his final unanswered email plea: I wish to remain employed with Amazon. This goes much deeper into how they deal with things and workers of color fuel Amazon's employment, etc. We're gonna, with so many employees staying home, the unthinkable is happening. It's customers returning to competitors. By mid-April, Walmart, Target, and other retailers were clearly gaining ground. Amazon would have to find a way to bring back workers. Any decision the company made would affect the lives of hundreds of thousands of employees. Amazon lost market share, blah, blah, blah. It's a really long article, which you can also, of course, read. But we're going to have a smaller discussion. That's just the intro on it. Amazon has too much on its plate. Its workers are being treated like robots. They do not care about the human welfare of the people that they employ. It is all about getting the packages out to consumers. They will do this at whatever speed necessary to meet their goals because they want to have the fastest shipping, the best prices, and the most volume. They already use robots and different metric apps and different things they tie on your wrist to track your productivity. If your legs hurt, good luck. If you're pregnant, good luck. If you twist your ankle, you sprain your ankle, good luck. You are a literal cog in Amazon's machine, no matter how you think about it. The only way you're not a cog is if somehow you've made it up the ranks or been hired for something in the higher position. There might not be such a cog machine-like environment there. But then again, you sitting in the air-conditioned offices, you chilling. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear nothing about how you don't get that Amazon is a problem. But they have great wages. Okay, let's end this like this. We said we want better wages. That does not mean throw out the entire subset of human worker rights. Where are we missing the communication here? You know they work them like slaves. Are you saying that the price is worth that? Because people above them who don't work as hard as them get 4, 5, 6 times as much. Jeff Bezos makes more, I think, than, or is worth more than every employee that he has in that level. But those are the ones, those are the people getting the packages to you. Those are the people who are literally you pissing in bottles to make deliveries for you. Those are the people who have to run to the bathroom within 30 seconds, pee real quick. Don't drink coffee. Don't drink coffee. And isn't it funny that the majority of those jobs are by people of color? Or are owned by people of color? That don't seem hilariously ironic to you or coincidental if you want to go there. Now, we're not saying, don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying Jeff Bezos is running a slave labor thing. No. But people have died at Amazon and they just covered up the body and made you walk around it to fill out the geek. See what I mean? There's so much of a loss in human connectivity because of how large Amazon is that it's led to stories like this coming out. It's led to people being treated like this. We did a whole thing about a lot of companies. John Oliver did a lot of companies. They don't give a shit about what you went through during the pandemic. It's about, give me the money, give me the money, give me the thing, give me the do the thing. Do the thing. How dare you do the thing? You don't find that odd? But you could be the next Jeff Bezos. Yeah, but he's got... Okay, if Jeff Bezos exists, you're asking me to complement that system by becoming another one of him. Oh, you mean sucking more wealth and creating an even bigger divide and inequality between Americans and, the fucking world. Oh, yeah, I would love to join that field of people. I would love to be able to solve hunger in this United States and literally just choose not to. I would love to. I would love to. Awesome. Sign me up. We understand how ethical, when we talk about ethics, how billionaires don't work. But on a practical level, look at what it leads to. You keep talking about, you Republicans and you conservatives keep talking, even you Democrats, even left people, we talking about this apocalyptic universe and you live in it. Hello. You live in it. The world should be made equitable no matter what you contribute to it because you are contributing to it. You gotta strike it lucky to get a job so you can afford rent? That's why I like my solution. Double the minimum wage, cut the hours in half. Now you could take 2 jobs and you can make a living wage and you still only spend 8 hours working. You mean to tell me that there are jobs out there that literally will not pay you enough to afford rent? Then what else are you supposed to do? Get a side hustle? Oh, so the transfer of wealth between poor people is so small that you understand that there's a discrepancy. But the transfer of wealth between billionaires and millionaires is so vast and massive because they're smarter. They just have the capital to make stupid decisions and watch it either pay off or not. If I got $2 billion in the bank, I could literally give a fuck about what happens to 1 million of it. Oh, I bought Dogecoin. I thought it was going to be popping. Turned out to be a bad investment. Oh, well, I'll take the loss. Get a load of this guy. Stop idolizing billionaires, please. I'm begging you. They're being tracked. They're being tracked for $15, $18 an hour. They're being tracked. That feel good to you? Oh, they're just making it up. People never had to pee in bottles. They're just a bunch. You do the same shit with teachers. Oh, they had a year-long break. You really think remote teaching wasn't more difficult? So you both complain that it can't be done remotely, but that we did no effort in trying to make it work? I remember when they told us we were going remote, we had a week to prepare. And we didn't even know that it was happening until 2 days into that week. We had to have quick training lessons. Here's how to use Zoom. Here's where all the buttons are. Guy, Save that shit for the boomers, bro. We grew up on Skype. We know how this shit work. Like, we know how to set up video calls. We needed to not make it feel like school had invaded children's lives. That's what we needed to do. Some kids went home to escape school because they didn't feel comfortable there. Now you telling me I gotta act like I'm in school in my own house? How am I supposed to transition between that? As a streamer, it's easy for me to put on the camera, launch this thing, and know that my brain is not gonna do the same things that I do when I'm sitting at home in my boxers watching something on Netflix. That's easy. I know I have to be a certain person. You're telling me that that person has to exist 5 days a week, and I'm a kid? Abruptly? Oh, just get used to it. That's what college kids do. Yeah, after years of schooling, and then they make the conscious decision for reasons outside of what we know to actually, do the thing. How dare you? Stop simping for billionaires. Just stop it. Stop it. Eric Adams. Oh, you could teach 400 kids in a room. Suck my dick.